epic battles, and iconic moments. The complete Super Bowl story. Over 127.7 million people tuned in to watch the last Super Bowl. That's more than the Oscars, the Grammys, and the NBA Finals combined. This is a competition that got its name from some kids playing with a toy. It's where the legends are made, dynasties rise and fall, and history is written under the brightest lights in sports. From Joe Namath's cocky promise to David Tyree's impossible helmet catch. From the wardrobe malfunction to Michael Jackson turning halftime into a global spectacle. The Super Bowl is more than football. It's America's crown jewel. But how did it all begin? Before Mahomes, Brady, or Joe Montana came to be? This is the complete Super Bowl story. If you hear people say that football has grown too soft today, it's probably because they know the history of the game. Football in its early years was pure mayhem. Born in 1869 as an offshoot of rugby, the game was basically an all-out brawl that led to the deaths of over 20 players in 1905. Football almost got banned, but luckily people like President Roosevelt, Walter Camp, and Jim Thorpe stepped in and the game was saved. By the 1920s, the NFL was established and the game started to flourish. So much so that a rich Texas oilman named Lamar Hunt was desperate to own an NFL team. They denied him, so he decided to create his own football league, the American Football League. By partnering with other wealthy men, the AFL soon became a huge competition for the NFL. Suddenly, there was a bidding war for players. Both leagues raided each other's rosters, and salaries skyrocketed. The chaos continued until 1966, when the NFL and AFL agreed to merge. But to crown a true champion, they needed a final battle, a single game to unite both leagues. This game was the Super Bowl, inspired by a Super Bowl toy that Lamar Hunt's kids played with. And so on January 15th, 1967, the very first Super Bowl was played between Green Bay and Kansas City. Vince Lombardi's Green Bay crushed the Chiefs 35-10. And here's Packers' Max McGee detailing the first Super Bowl touchdown.
The film shows Bart got a little rush on and threw a pretty bad pass, and it was behind me. And I said, well, I better reach back and try to break up this interception. And that's when I reached back, and the ball stuck right there. I mean, just the end of the ball right there. I put it under my arm. Looked like we'd practiced it all year. So that was the first Super Bowl touchdown.
Tickets to that game cost $6 and still didn't sell out. That's right. The only Super Bowl to not sell out was the cheapest one. Regardless, America was hooked. The next year, the Packers won again, this time over the Raiders. It was Lombardi's final game, and after he died, the trophy was renamed in his honor. Super Bowl III featured New York Jets' Joe Namath guaranteeing victory for his team against the Colts, who were favorites. This caused a lot of drama.
Coach Eubank was very upset. He was sure that what I had said earlier about the guarantee was going to fire up the Baltimore Colts. It's a very good thing that we won, because had we not won the game, I don't know where I'd be today.
But Namath's Jets won 16 to Colts 7, and let's not forget the infamous flea flicker.
In the film, I'm 37 yards away from the closest guy. And why Earl didn't get there, I don't know. Whether he didn't look, didn't see me.
Finally, the AFL had its first victory over the NFL in the competition. So in 1970, they agreed to fully integrate their operations and schedules. Now the Super Bowl became a big deal, and the game exploded in the 1970s. Miami completed the only perfect season in NFL history, going 17-0 in 1972. Pittsburgh's Steel Curtain defense won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, and the Dallas Cowboys earned the nickname America's Team and won 2 Super Bowls. Off the field, advertising took off. The price of a 30-second commercial by the end of the decade was $185,000, and football had officially replaced baseball as America's favorite sport. But the 1980s was something else. In the 1980s, families planned their weekends around the Super Bowl, and companies spent millions just to be seen during it. And on the field, dynasties began to take shape. The Pittsburgh Steelers wrapped up their reign with one last title in 1980, beating the Rams for their 4th Super Bowl. Terry Bradshaw was unstoppable. John Stallworth soared, and the Steel Curtain defense cemented its legacy. But a new power was rising on the West Coast. In 1982, a calm, unassuming quarterback named Joe Montana led the 49ers to their first Super Bowl win with the famous The Catch.
To the Super Bowl. He and Joe Montana. What a play by Montana. What a catch by...
This was the start of something special, and over the decade, the 49ers became the gold standard. With coach Bill Walsh's West Coast offense and stars like Jerry Rice and Roger Craig, the 49ers would win 4 Super Bowls in the 80s alone. But this decade wasn't just about offense. In 1985, the Chicago Bears unleashed one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, coached by Mike Ditka and anchored by monsters like Richard Dent and Mike Singletary. The Bears steamrolled the Patriots 46-10. And then we got a pop hit called the Super Bowl Shuffle.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble, we're just here to do the Super Bowl.
Also, the Fridge, William Perry, became a household name. During this decade, Washington rose to power, winning 3 titles behind 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Gibbs built his team on tough defense and a bulldozing offensive line nicknamed the Hogs. The Giants, with the defensive terror Lawrence Taylor, won 2 of their own. Smash Mouth football was back, and it was winning. But not everyone was celebrating, as the Minnesota Vikings lost 4 Super Bowls in the 1970s. And in the 80s, it was the Denver Broncos' turn to suffer. Led by John Elway, they made it to 3 Super Bowls only to get blown out each time. In all these years, the main event was still football. But as the TV commercials went over $500,000, other segments of the event started to rival the game itself for attention. By the 1990s, football's biggest stage delivered more heartbreaks and the most valuable franchise in the world. By the 90s, the Super Bowl had outgrown football. It was now many things, including a marketing spectacle, music event, and a pop culture milestone. From 1990 to 94, the Buffalo Bills reached 4 straight Super Bowls, only to lose them all. A franchise full of talents like Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and Bruce Smith just couldn't catch a break. Till date, no team has ever been so close consecutively without winning any. But at the opposite end of it is the Dallas Cowboys. With Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin, the Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls. They dethroned the 49ers, ran through the Bills, and began their journey to becoming the NFL's most valuable franchise. But then, the 49ers dynasty did not go away quietly. In 1995, Steve Young threw a record 6 touchdown passes to lead San Francisco to its 5th title. He silenced critics. Jerry Rice kept dominating. Then we saw Deion Sanders win that Super Bowl with the 49ers, only to sign with the Cowboys and win it again the following year. But before the decade was over, John Elway finally redeemed himself. After 3 Super Bowl losses in the 80s, he won back-to-back titles in 98-99 with the Denver Broncos. The mile-high heartbreak was finally over, and Elway retired a champion. But even as dramatic as football was that decade, the biggest shift was the halftime show. In 1993, the king of pop, Michael Jackson, moonwalked onto the Super Bowl stage and changed halftime forever. Viewership skyrocketed, and the halftime show became just as important as the football itself. By the time the 2000s arrived, Super Bowl ads were selling for over $2 million. Ticket prices were climbing fast. Then came the Patriots. In 2002, a 6th-round draft pick named Tom Brady stepped in for an injured Drew Bledsoe and never looked back. He led the underdog Patriots to a shocking Super Bowl win over the greatest show on turf Rams. Adam Vinatieri's game-winning field goal launched a dynasty. 2 years later, they did it again. But as good as the game was, the halftime show featuring Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction made more headlines. In 2005, the Patriots made it 3 titles in 4 years, matching the Cowboys' 90s run. Bill Belichick masterminded it. Tom Brady executed it. The Super Bowl had become about legacy, and Eli Manning managed to turn himself into Tom Brady's kryptonite. He took down the mighty Patriots, who were on the verge of breaking the 1972 Dolphins' perfect season record with the famous helmet catch. Then he did it again in 2012. During this time, other teams too had their moments. The Steelers won 2 behind Ben Roethlisberger. The Colts finally got Peyton Manning a ring. And the Saints lifted 1 for New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. But by 2015, the Super Bowl had reached a new level. $4.5 million per 30-second commercial. Over 110 million viewers. Tickets north of $6,000. It was no longer just a game. It was the biggest stage in sports. And one man had become its biggest star. As the 2010s unfolded, Tom Brady was not only winning, he was redefining what greatness looked like. In Super Bowl 51, The Patriots faced the Atlanta Falcons. With just over a quarter to go, they were down 28-3. Everyone thought it was over, until Brady orchestrated the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. It was Brady's 5th ring, and it ended the GOAT debate. Then the Eagles wrote their own chapter in 2018, toppling Brady in a 41-33 shootout. Their backup quarterback, Nick Foles, became a Philly legend by catching a touchdown in the now famous Philly Special.
Philly Special. Ready? Here we go, here we go. Tonight! Easy, easy! Kill! Lane!
This was Philly's first ever Super Bowl win. But in 2019, the Patriots won again, making it 6 Super Bowl rings for Brady. But the dynasty was fading, and a new name was rising fast: Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes led the Kansas City Chiefs back from 10 points down to win Super Bowl 54. After winning league MVP, he then added Super Bowl MVP to it as well. Coach Andy Reid finally got his ring, and a new dynasty was in town. One that may well usurp Tom Brady's GOAT status, like Tom did Joe Montana. But hold on, Brady wasn't done. In 2020, he left New England, joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and won Super Bowl 55 in 2021. At 43 years old, Brady still threw 3 touchdowns to claim his 7th ring, more than any team in NFL history. But then came the Chiefs' revenge tour. They returned in 2023 to take out the Philadelphia Eagles. Mahomes, battling an ankle injury, threw 3 touchdowns and led a game-winning drive. This was his 2nd MVP on his 2nd ring. And if anyone doubted the Chiefs' dynasty, they cleared all doubts in 2024. Super Bowl 28 was between the Chiefs and the 49ers. It went to overtime before Mahomes delivered once again. Chiefs 25, Niners 22. Mahomes was now a 3-time champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and not even 30 years old. 2025 rolled in, and while Mahomes tried to make history with another Super Bowl, it was the Philadelphia Eagles who came out victorious. They won Super Bowl 59 40-22 at Caesars Superdome, and Jalen Hurts won the MVP. But once again, the halftime show made the most headlines. Kendrick Lamar took the stage alongside SZA, Samuel L. Jackson, Serena Williams, and Mustard. The show pulled in a record 133.5 million viewers, with advertisements costing between 7 and 8 million just for 3 seconds. And we saw Kanye West spend that money to promote his swastika t-shirts in a video he recorded in a dentist's chair. Thus, throughout its history, it's clear that the Super Bowl is more than a game. It's a mirror of American culture. From Bart Starr to Brady, from Name It's Guaranteed to Mahomes' greatness, from marching bands to million-dollar commercials, the Super Bowl has transcended football. But of all this, what's your favorite moment? Did we miss a particularly noteworthy moment? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, you should watch Kansas City defensive highlights next.